right, so we are live, and there's just a little bit of a lag for the audience, so let's see how that plays out. It's a little distracting. It's like a 6-second delay. So, um, well, I'm Nadia. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the virtual book club. We're so glad to have you here. There's a little bit of housekeeping that Melina and I want to do to get you orientated to the platform. I have another screen to my right, so I'm just going to turn my head and see. We're at like 14. I had wanted to make sure we had about 10 or 12 people in the room before we started the event. So I'm feeling good to go ahead and probably
Great.
get started. The first thing I think I want to do is pull up slides. So we did prepare a little bit of a workshop presentation, a super interactive event for you tonight. And it'll be a little bit more fun if you actually will participate in the chat as well. So I'm just going to turn off my camera for a moment just to pull up these slides, and I'll be right back with you. All right, I think we're in business. I forgot to bring my quiet mouse, so I might be a little clicky during the event. Is that going to be acceptable for you, Melina?
Absolutely. We have a few questions in the comments here. Are we
Already?
automatically muted? Is that right?
Yeah.
People are
So all of
automatically
the
muted.
attendees will be muted. You won't have to turn on your video. Later in the event, we're going to give you an opportunity to jump on stage, participate in a session, totally voluntary if that feels right to you. So for now, don't worry, no one can hear you, but I would like to see you in the chat if you could just start typing, take a look at some of the polls and things. So I am going to just pop over so I'm monitoring the comments with you as well. Fabulous. Hi, Erica, I see you. Chris, I imagine what you sound like, even though I can't see you. One of the fun things is we can just pull people's information onto the screen as well. So if you do have something you want to add in the chat, a takeaway, or you hear something that really resonates with you throughout the program, I can pull those right in, and they'll be available in the recording for people that maybe can't necessarily see the chat. So I would encourage you to write down the things that really resonate, and we'll just pull them in and kind of highlight them during the talk as well. So I have a little bit more housekeeping, but I wanted to give people a few more minutes to roll in. So wow, we're over 20 now. So this is definitely the great time to get started. I also want to keep the program to about 45 minutes to an hour. And remember, there's a replay. So if you need to step out at any reason, you can come back and catch up on that later. But for now, let me go ahead and get started with, I also have a friend with me in my lap tonight. So I don't know if anyone saw the video that I posted, but this is Jim, and he's going to be a part of the program as well. Melina, maybe I can hand it over to you, and you could take us through the journey and what we can expect for the evening.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Melina Ortigas, and I'm happy to be here with Nadia. We've been friends for quite a number of years now, and it's exciting to get together again with you all. So we're going to start with a few polls. You'll see the banners coming through. So please make sure to interact and just type in your answers in the comments section. We're excited to see those coming through. Hello, everyone. North Dakota, Alabama. I mean, we've got people from everywhere. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And then we're going to go into our program where we're really going to focus on our growth mindset and design thinking. That is the topic of discussion for today. And we'll walk you through a guided exercise, very brief, nothing too scary or daunting.
I didn't
we want to
study.
get you focused. Nothing to study, just to get us present and collaborating and thinking differently. And then lastly, we're going to go through some questions and next steps and offer some speed networking. So Nadia can tell us all about those things.
And optional, of course. So one of the things that's coming up to me is in this platform, there's a lot going on. So if anyone's looking at their screen, Our speaker view is a little bit different, but on your left-hand panel, I would expect that you can see the stage, and later I'll have you refresh your browser. I hope you join from a desktop because that's going to give you access to all of the features and interactive possibilities, but you'll be able to see different breakout sessions, and you'll also have the opportunity to go to the speed networking as well. Below, there should be a little caret in the middle, and if you step on that, it should bring you down. I went ahead and pre-populated a link. Actually, it's a little bit of an affiliate link for this book, which we're covering tonight, The Creative Acts for Curious People. Not required that you purchased or read the book in order to participate tonight. We're going to take you through it and kind of try to persuade you to get a copy. It's about $18, but it's beautifully illustrated, and it's something that I'm excited to have in my library that I plan to reference a lot. In fact, we are running a part 2 of this program, so I'll be spending a lot of time with this book in the rest of November and the start of December as well. So the other thing I put a link there was an invitation to join us for part 2. If you're having fun tonight and you want to continue on the journey, we have 5 more sessions that you can be a part of asynchronously. So that means you don't have to show up live. You can kind of do the work on your own time, or you can participate in the live sessions as well. But we'll tell you more about that after we get through the content and tell you a little bit about what it means to do design thinking. So just thanks for coming. We volunteer, we do these events just because we're interested in them, and it's really based on what people ask for. So on LinkedIn, I said, I bought this book. Does anyone want to do a book club? And it's based on your response that I put this program together. And I hope to do another one maybe in the winter. So just make sure that you put me in your safe list so that you can actually get the emails that I'll be sending you. We're going to do great on the job, I think, for actually Do More Great Work by, it's Michael Bungay Stanier. So maybe Jennifer can hook me up with a link to that on Amazon. But yeah, Do More Great Work. So that'll be our book that we'll do in the winter when people are a little bit sleepy. We can talk about individual development programs. But let's get started on our journey. We don't want to keep you all night, but we do want it to be fun. So I thought this would be a good moment just to reset. Obviously, coming into this platform, and there's all these different windows and things to click on. And did I send that email that I meant to before I signed up for the day? And what's on my to-do list tomorrow? What time is my first meeting? Are the kids okay with supper? Is the dog barking? There's just a lot going on. So what I would ask is that we just like recenter. One of the things that I like to do just to kind of calm myself down is bring in like scents that are really familiar, that kind of trigger to my brain, like it's time to get to work. So this is like an orange dreamsicle, really yummy lotion that I just love before I start my workday. Every day it's like 3 minutes with tea, put on this lotion, and then just kind of breathe and be like, what is it I need to achieve? So I just am giving you an invitation to be present. So whatever the thing is that you need to do, is it wiggling? Is it standing up? You took time away from your family, away from your work tonight to come to this workshop. So just be with us. Maybe that means turning off your notifications. Maybe you're gonna flip over your phone and just make sure you can't see the screen. I'm gonna do it right now. I don't want to see the notifications. I just want to be here and do this thing with you for the next 30 minutes or so. And I hope that you'll do the same for me, because it increases our experience if you really participate with us as well. So let me pull up some slides and then start asking you some questions about you, because obviously Melina and I are here on stage, but you're our star guest. So I need to know, do you identify as a creative person? I know you're curious because you came to this book club for curious people, but there's a couple options. Are you a creative person all the time? Sometimes, never, maybe in work, but not personally? I'd love to hear just some of the comments coming up. Melina, any that you want to call out that you're seeing roll in at all?
Let's do it.
Oh, I did have, I had one fun little banner. So so type squirrel if you're like me. I already went in and typed squirrel like 3 times. So but yeah, so I think this is just a really good place to start, because a lot of times people will say to me, yeah, I mean, I don't really like play an instrument, or I'm not really an artist. And I don't think that's what it means to be a creative person. It's really about that capacity to generate new ideas, to come up with novel or more simplified solutions. Creativity is just sometimes unearthing an alternative approach, right? It doesn't have to be what we add. Sometimes creativity is that ability to zoom out and take things away. Um, Melina, do you agree with me that sometimes people as adults, we get a little bit nervous to talk about being a creative person?
Absolutely. I'm seeing some comments here, we've got a good mix. I'm hardly ever creative. Yes, creative all the time. I would like to be definitely a curious person. Squirrel, half squirrel. I'm all about simplification. Are squirrels creative? I'm creative with ideas, but not as an artist or graphic designer, etc. I am a creative person.
Oh,
So
I
we've got
love this.
a
Hi,
mix.
Amanda. This is exciting. Okay, so let's get back to our program and just kind of move along. I think everyone's here to experience, but also to learn.
Oh,
And the good news is design thinking skills, they can actually be taught. So I'm Nadia. A lot of you may know me from the clinical researcher community, GCP Cafe. So I've been doing this work for about 15 years. Originally, I was a blogger, just kind of sharing my experiences with my mom and my grandmother on the internet. But it grew, and now I have a connection to over 10,000 clinical researchers around the world. And it makes me feel more confident when I travel and navigate new experiences in work and in life. So I call myself the Chief Clinidividual, and that's a book that I've been working on for a little while. And I'm hoping to have more space in my life to get back to that creative work. And I think design thinking may be a really big unlock for me. So I'm pretty excited about it. But Melina, I'd love to hand over to you. Again, you are a very good friend. You graciously agreed to do this with me tonight. But who are you and why are you here?
great. So I was in clinical research myself. I'm a very curious individual as well. And I recently went over to the early childhood field. And as you might all be aware, it's if you're a parent or you have any exposure to children, it's quite a daunting world right now. And so this was just, a really great opportunity to tackle some challenges collaboratively and start thinking of using creativity and using my research brain to tackle some complex challenges in a different way. I felt like this book would really give us the tools to see the world in a different way and just build something better.
Thanks, Lena. And good news, Lito's here as well. We'll see him later in one of the breakout sessions. It's kind of fun. I've been doing this Clubhouse social media app since the start of the year. A lot of you that are in the audience, actually, I met you through that platform. And it's been a way to try things that are kind of outside of my comfort zone. And it's not permanent, right? You try a chat for 20, 30 minutes, it's not recorded, and it's just a moment. So you have that experience to put your toe in the water and say, is this something I want to do more of? So Clubhouse has been a really fun platform, and I met Lito as well. And that was a really big benefit because I told him I was really into experiential learning. Like when I read a book, I want to dip into the middle and then kind of work my way out. It doesn't have to be like I read it from cover to cover. I also like to read it with other people. Melina's my person. So over the years, I would send Melina like a text or a quote. And it's just a way that we've always communicated with each other, kind of through ideas that are circling around. And then she'll say, oh, but I just read this the other day and it's exactly the same. And so creating those connections with someone else, I would say, who is your superhero when it comes to creative thought? And for me, it's absolutely Melina, because we just have such different points of view. But I met Lito and he said, yeah, I totally agree. But why just one person? Why not the whole world? Why can't you have a knowledge map that uses artificial intelligence to create all those links and concepts? You don't have to do it yourself, just have those things elevated and surfaced to you. So there's a platform called Roam. Roam is a piece of technology that Lito and I are using to actually facilitate part 2 of this book club. So if you want to learn some new tech, you can be a part of that Roam experiential learning piece where we're going to put our notes in the system, and then we'll see what kinds of themes get revealed to us as we work our way through this book. So that's some next level tech geek stuff. And if you're interested in that, I'll tell you more about it. But for tonight, you don't have to learn any new tools or tech. But it's just something I've always wanted in my life as a way to connect all of these ideas from like different domains and different industries, and apply them. And it's something I try to do in my life and work all the time. So, all right, so let's get moving here. I got those slides to come back up. I need a showrunner next time. Let's make a mental note. Melina, so this is the author. We had pulled this quote and talked about it a lot over the last couple of weeks. Maybe I can hand it over to you and you can talk about really what it means to learn to be confident enough with our abilities to navigate ambiguity in life and work.
Absolutely. I think it's, we can all relate to needing a compass during this time to sort of figure out how to, navigate the complexity of the situation, but also we're bombarded with information all the time now, right? It's everywhere. And what's important, how do we make sense of the stuff that really matters and resonates with us, and that helps us grow in the direction that we want to go into. So this book was a really good way, and this book club is a good starting point to sort of get us into this mindset of distilling and figuring out our why, and learning to be more empathetic, to see the world not just through our own perspective but through the perspective of others.
Well, big thanks for being with me on this journey. I thought it'd be kind of fun to take us off the stage for a minute and go back to the audience, do a little bit of a poll and interactive exercise. So what I pulled up here, a little bit of background, like why did we pick this? The book actually has 80 different assignments, and they're right out of what's taught at the Stanford D School. What's fun about those assignments is you can do them on your own. Maybe it takes 5, 10, 20 minutes, or up to 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the assignment. But there's just a lot of variety in the book. And again, I don't like to read my books in serial order. The author kind of was thinking of me, I think. Instead of reading it from front to finish, there's a roadmap at page 25 where you can actually think about the outcome you want to achieve and then work your way through the exercises based on that. So an example would be, I'm at work and I want to get out and discover, right? Like I want to stretch my senses and escape my old routines. Well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 different exercises that I can work through on my own time to achieve that. And so this felt really good to me, that I could, depending on where I'm at in the season of my life, I could revisit this book and read it in a different order and have a different outcome. So that is really why I picked it, because it just seemed like a really creative way to make a book. But Melina, let me ask you a little bit about what surprised you about the book.
I think it was slowing down, right? And helping us to really focus and simplify, to look for those moments, like the mundane things that we kind of look and gloss over a lot and we take for granted, and kind of see them again with refreshed eyes. So it kept reminding me of like, okay, the child, reawakening that childlike wonder, and seeing the world with new eyes.
All right, so let's find those slides again. This is, I was getting ahead of myself a little bit. So we're going to learn a framework. It's not that hard to learn tonight. It's something where typically it's taught from start to finish, but obviously we're going to do it Nadia style. We're going to like jump into the middle and work our way out. But frameworks really only work when you trust that you're capable of being better, that if I apply myself to this framework, this effort will result in improvement for me. So this is where we kind of try to enlist you and convince you that if you really commit to this framework, which is probably longer than just the 30 minutes we're going to spend together tonight, that you will improve. Anyone can become more creative. Anyone can develop more of a design mindset. And this word mindset is interesting to me because I'm very into rituals. I mean, I talked already about my coffee and my senses and the patterns that I really rely on just to take away that that requirement to always be making choices. I just want to have the default state as much as possible. You know how like when you're in the shower and you just go to your default, like, oh, I'm just going to shampoo my hair, and then boom, you have the solution to a problem. That's really what it is. Like when you get into that, when you take away all those choices, then you can start to put creative thoughts together. And so that's why I rely on frameworks. Like as much as I want to be flexible and free, it turns out I work a lot better with boundaries. So I create them artificial boundaries within my life. I just was wondering in the chat if anybody knows someone that they respect and admire who has like rituals or a certain way that they show up, something they're doing repeatedly, something that they do in a similar pattern. I would just like to know if there's someone in your life that you remember, or even someone from a movie, could be a fictional character. But I would just like to see in the chat, maybe put their name and like one attribute that you appreciate about that person. Because I'm trying to get you to kind of buy into why would I want to change my mindset? If you know somebody who has this type of mindset. Is anything coming up, Melina, from folks?
Oh, we have some good information here. Christine, your brain is in theta stage in the shower. That's why you get creative ideas there. Okay.
Yeah, we're naked. We don't have to make a lot of choices, right? So. Thanks, Christine. So what I want to see is just names of people that you admire, people who they're ritualistic, or they follow procedures, or they definitely have like a system or a code of conduct with their life. So you could put initials as well if you want to protect the innocent. You could just write their initials, and then just one thing that you admire about them. Okay, fantastic. So we have some folks. Some folks are playing along. Thank you, Brian. So Brian knows someone named Jill, and she's extremely focused. Or they are extremely focused while the world is crazy. So it sounds like this is something that Brian really admires about Jill. Thank you, Brian. And then it looks like Christine knows somebody called Letitia. And I'm not sure if this is the same person, but oh, here comes Elaine. Yeah. So you guys are faster than I am with the click in here. This is amazing. Letitia actually journals every day. She wakes up and drinks her coffee. Oh my gosh, she sounds amazing. I have so many friends that wake up at like 5 a.m. and write, and I'm like, I haven't seen 5 a.m. in a while. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I like to sleep in. But I love and respect people that have these positive things in their life. Oh, Lita, what a good one. David Allen, fantastic. Yeah, great writer about getting things done. Definitely some rituals. And then I had just seen Elaine's a few moments ago. I love this. It's her daughter. So mentors are everywhere, right? They don't have to be above us. They can be our peers. They can be below us in the organization, in our community, and in our lives. Your daughter is younger than you, and yet you're learning from her by the way that she's structuring her work. That's beautiful, Elaine. And I think this one's pretty cool because Chris, I wonder if Chris voted squirrel. I'm curious to know, Chris, what you voted in that poll. I think of you as a very creative person. But Deb, yeah, known for her very regimented planning, and I would agree with that. Oh, Vanessa Van Edwards. Thanks, Melissa. That's a good one. All right, well, I'm gonna leave you guys to this dream seeking. I just wanted to, by the way, we're doing design thinking. I tricked you into it. But let's get moving. I'll just leave that prompt in case you wanna reflect on it later. It's really just, who do you know that's like this? And just write their name and one thing that you appreciate about them. But for now, we'll get back to our program. So here we go. I got you in the framework. I just wanted to make sure that you were ready before we went there. What would you add about mindset, Melina? Because I know you and I have talked a lot about this last couple of weeks, and specifically how other people's perspective informs our personal mindset.
Absolutely. I think that's sort of the foundation of design thinking, right? Is empathy. If you were to define it with one word, it would be that, to put yourself in another person's shoes. How are they experiencing a system or a service or a product? And I think the designer is really, we're all born designers. And that was the insightful thing about this book, right? Is like, go back to that time when everything was awesome and you saw the world with like fresh eyes, remove the blindfold and ask questions like, how does this work? Why? What would happen if, just be really open. And without those biases that we've sort of layered on as we get older. And so it's design thinking sort of gets rid of all of those biases and baggage that we're carrying, until you get back down to the source of truth, so to speak.
The word that's coming up for me is possibilities, and I was also thinking like open doors, right? So when we're children and we try new things, like we don't have to be worried about being scolded or shamed for, oh, you failed, like But I think maybe it becomes more difficult. The stakes are higher the more that we advance our professional careers. So as much as this is exciting and interesting and yeah, let's all be designers and creatives, like we're accountable, right? And the consequences of like inaction or improper action are very high. So to be in that, what I call like the messy middle of a project, when you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get out? I've painted myself into a corner. That's where I really rely on this framework more. And I know you're saying like empathy is number one and putting yourself into that other person's experience, but I just see it as like a Hail Mary to like get out of that sticky part. And it's like, okay, what do I know how to do well? I know how to go through checklists. I know how to go through routines. So I come back to this one. And that's why I say it's a model that you can use in a non-linear way. Like you could just start with the ideation stage. You don't have to start with sense making, but maybe I should take you through these steps just quickly, and then we'll kind of narrow in on one or two of them. So I think of sense making kind of like common sense. And it's funny because we all know that we don't put like the fork in the microwave, right? You don't put metal in the microwave. But we don't know that, right? And so everyone talks about like the things you should know, but how do you know them? Through experience or from finding out from someone else? Like, oh, did you know that if you put a fork in a microwave, it'll explode? If anyone didn't know that, you're welcome. So yeah, I just wanted to. But I think sense making is we can't know everything until we start asking other people for their perspective. So this is really one of my favorite parts of design thinking. It's when you're just like grabbing data from everywhere, and then starting to see it from their point of view as well. And that's the empathizing piece. I'm going to talk a little bit more about defining the problem next, because I have some hacks and tools that some that I got from the book, but some from my own experience. And then Melina, I'll probably let you talk a little bit about ideation, because that's what I think of when I think of you. We've talked for years about our idea garden. I don't know, does anybody keep a list of all their crazy ideas? For me, it's on like scraps of paper and receipts and things. But I've always been cultivating that garden with Melina. We talk a lot about like gardening metaphors, and I don't garden at all, but I always think of you whenever I'm like in that brainstorm, because it turns out you get better ideas when you start brainstorming with other people. So I'll let you talk a little bit about that. I'll go back to the framework so folks can kind of see the different stages. And the final steps of design thinking are really to start experimenting and prototyping, but even before you start those tests, to design them. And then at the end, we have some different exercises, some from the book, some from our own experience, that we can teach you to help you finish and reflect as well. But the whole idea is to provoke fresh ideas and be open for insights and opportunities. And that's how we find truly creative solutions. Melina, before we dive into any individual steps, what am I not bringing up that we had talked about in the past couple of weeks?
I think
just nailed it.
I think you covered everything. Yeah, I would add maybe you do. You always just nail it. I would add that it's sort of this is the time of showing that empathy, right? That everyone's under a lot of stress, and we got to give ourselves grace, and we got to give other people grace. And so being able to think about like how we experience, what our circumstances are like and what somebody else's are, that how different they are, and so that we can communicate better and set expectations and manage expectations a little bit better, and improve our relationships. I think this is kind of that time to to work on that. And as far as like building your leadership skills, right? Really acknowledging and recognizing what everyone is going through in this critical moment, and trying to be mindful of how we contribute to problems ourselves and how we create our own problems sometimes. So just, taking that perspective.
I feel attacked.
I feel like it's like we all do it, right? And so it's just kind of thinking, wait a minute, what am I bringing to the table, right? That's complicating this thing. And if we all sort of asked ourselves that question, what would the world look like?
You know what you're reminding me of? We were talking about the title of the event and the idea that leaders are responsible for managing teams, not just for change, not just for themselves, right? Like as a leader, you have to be comfortable with the stress of the constant change in your work, but you also have to make sure that you're not pushing that stress down, right? And so I think this type of framework is really useful because it's like it gives you a way out. It's like, oh, it's crippling, I'm crushed, oh wait, let me just regroup, right? There's another way out of this stress and I can be a better leader. And so there's this nobody in the room is going to say like, oh, I don't really need to learn more about change management. Like we all know that like our worlds are constantly changing, but this idea that change is like an event that starts and stops and it's like, got through that one, I'm ready for the next change. Like that's not life, right? Like we're having changes constantly in all these domains. So I think that's why it's important that you don't have to do this framework from start to end, but you have to understand that it's a framework that can help you cope with creating better solutions, but also just managing the stress and anxiety of change that's happening in the world around you. So, all right, so let's
put a little comment here. There's some feedback here. Almost all my problems are created by me. So we have someone who agrees.
I'm not the only one.
Oh my
like in my own way at times.
And this ties in perfectly to this topic, right? It's like the framework will really help us get out of our own minds, right? That we create our own reality.
All right, so I feel so seen. All right, so I'm looking at the clock. We're at like 40 minutes in. I told everybody they get to meet each other, do speed networking. They're not here for an academic lecture. I mean, right? We're here for the networking. Maybe that's just me. Okay, but we are not going to go through 6 slides and break all of these down for you. That's what part 2 of the book club is for. But that's not slides either. That's just games and fun. So if you're in and you want to do 2 exercises for each of these hexagons, you can join us for part 2. Again, just hit the little carrot at the bottom, get registered for that. We're going to give you a real special offer a little bit later in the program if you stick around. And that'll be available in the recording for 72 hours as well. So Melina, I hope you're cool with this, but I'm just going to skip to the middle. And I think we should just do like 2 of these briefly. I'll do one, you do one. And then we can just let people buy the book. I mean, I'm not trying to take money away from the author, right? So like we will teach 2 of these steps. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, you're on board. I got consent. All right, so I'll go first. I am going to pull up. Look at that. It's almost like we planned it, right? I want to take you guys through an exercise just to, filter your focus. And so I love coffee and tea. Everybody who knows me knows I love vintage graphite pencils as well, which is why we're using hexagons. If you did go to Google and you asked for a diagram of design thinking, it's going to look an awful lot like the one I just showed you on the last slide, but you're going to have about 100,000 other images that pop up because I think there's a lot of different perspectives on how to teach design thinking. So I'm going to teach the messy middle. So this is actually one of my favorite steps. People that know me know that I collect a lot of things. Obviously the pencils, but also data. So one of my favorite tools, oh my gosh, I have like 30 of these on my desk. Brian's probably laughing because he knows what I love. Field notes. Yeah, so these little notebooks, I have a special notebook for writing things that are happening, kind of like a diary of my day. Like it's 9:15 p.m. I did my timesheet. So I'm writing down what I'm doing. But when I'm having conversations with people, I actually use these instead because I want to be able to mine them later. So part of my review and reflection process is to go back and read these notes weekly, I also go back and look at them usually like mid-monthly or quarterly. And in order to get through them really quickly, I use a lot of coding and indexing. So I don't want to give away too much proprietary and confidential stuff here. But I always have different colored pencils on my desk to like circle things that come up again. I was just looking in the chat. I'm not seeing Mr. Tim Akers, but he'll catch this on the replay. He can wave his hand if it's there. When I joined Medidata, the name Tim Akers came up a lot. It came up, I'm on my fourth book because I've been there about 5 months, and it just kept coming up over and over and over again, but I hadn't really met him. And so it's fun when I look through my notes, I can actually see like he's circled in orange. It's like, who's this Tim guy? I got to talk to him. And so I just got to talk to him this week for 2 hours. And if that's somebody you want to meet, look him up on LinkedIn. But that's how these notes help me, because it's not about somebody mentioned something to you one time. It's when it starts coming up and surfacing over and over again, it's really a valuable insight potentially. It's something to look at more. So that's what I mean when I say define. I have all these notes, tens of thousands of words, but I'm not going to look at all of those before I start problem solving. I'm going to look for themes. And so that's why the coding and highlighting of my original research, my handwritten research, helps me. Another example of that, let's say you're caring for an elderly parent, and of course you want to know like tactically how to do that, like what are the technical skills, but also what kind of social support do you need to be successful in that endeavor. And so one of the ways that I would research that, if I were trying to come up with a new solution to care for an elderly parent, I would probably go to Amazon and look for books that are around that topic. But instead of buying the book, I would actually just go read the reviews and just start reading the sentiments and the ways that people are talking about the books and how the books solve their problem. So that type of language helps me understand where there's a gap and what kind of product or service needs to exist to help people with that problem. So I hope that you're tracking with me. This is one of the reasons I'm excited about Roam, because I can start putting all of this database information, things like meeting minutes or transcripts from conversations, and I can start to see filter. That's a signal. Let me start attacking that problem. So anything to add for define, Melina? Because I kind of want to hand it over to you to figure out what to do once we've narrowed in the problem we want to solve.
I think that definition is important, right? Because then you can kind of control a little bit of what happens on the ideation side. It's like you've now narrowed it down to the solutions that can actually have a chance to work, right? You've set your little boundaries that you like, and you've gotten down to something there. There's that the problem is clearly defined, and now you can see the solution a little bit more clearly, and it gives you an opportunity to collaborate. So I might say something that, what about this? And then you can add this thing to it, or have you thought of this thing? And imagine having 3, 4, 20 people doing that with the same problem. We all have this blind spot, right? We only see parts of the puzzle or the picture. And when we all come together, we each create that full picture of the problem and the solution. So I think that's the key to getting innovation done.
This sounds like improv. Like when I made these slides for you, I don't know if you noticed, I made expansion. That's kind of why I did the arrows, because it's like you did all this work to define the problem, and now you're keeping it targeted to that problem, but now you're coming up with all these new ideas around that specific problem. So it's like this, right? When it's going to get bigger to get smaller to get bigger. Like design thinking is a lot of time, right?
Absolutely.
So, what else would you add about ideation? Do you feel like we're ready to scooch into maybe one of our exercises, or any kind of other thoughts about that step?
I like the ideation piece. I think is liberating, and it gives you a sense of agency. So that's another key piece of design thinking, right? That change is hard when you feel that it's being thrust upon you. Change is not hard when you're like, I'm really passionate about this problem and I want to solve it. So the ideation is a really fun piece of the design process, because once you've identified the problem and you're like, aha, then it's fun to come up with all the ways in which you can solve it for yourself or for your community, or whatever you're passionate about. I think that we're mostly resistant to change when we feel like we had no participation in it. There was no agency.
Yeah, I'm like really just resonating with what you're saying right now. I feel like this is a chance to expand not just like our individual thought, but the way that we feel like we belong within like a system or a community. When new ideas are welcomed, right, then it creates that that feeling of belonging as well. So, um, and you said fun, and it got me thinking like one of the really fun parts of design thinking is prototyping. So we're definitely going to spend a lot of time. I think for tonight, you and I picked out two exercises, one of which was prototyping, Protobot. I don't know what number it is, but
Absolutely.
Protobot. But I think in the interest of time, we should just skip Protobot. And if anyone's interested in that exercise, we'll send it out in a workshop, like a little worksheet afterwards, so you can work on your own. You can message me on LinkedIn, or Melina, we can hop back on, or you can
And some
join us in the
pictures.
experience. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
don't think we have time for Protobot tonight, if that's okay. But prototyping is fun because it's about showing versus telling. It's how we deliver on things before they're exactly perfect. And it's a really important skill for design thinking. But let's wrap our hexagon journey, and then move into the exercise part. So, oh, here comes Violet with, she's always got like the inspiration bombs here. So we'll just throw that up there. Okay, so this is just kind of a recap of anything we forgot to talk about earlier, but leaders get to navigate change, right? We get to, it's an opportunity. But to get a compass on how to do it better, that's where design thinking comes in. It's just a framework. And I think most people on this call know that there's a lot of frameworks in the universe. So we just wanted to show you one. I think it's fine to mix and match with other things. But not only do leaders get that opportunity to navigate change, they get that opportunity to have more empathy in their work. And I think with that, Melina, any other kind of benefits you can think of to using design thinking more in your life and your work?
I would, I'm going to answer Violet's question too, and your question at the same time. It is satisfying to address a problem, right? Once you've identified it, and it just feels, it, it's amazing, right? Like, oh, sometimes it's been staring at you, staring you in the face, and you just can't wrap your head around it. And one example in the book was a substitute teaching, and just the name substitute teacher. Like, of course, you're going to have a problem with that. Like, the teachers themselves had a problem with being replaced, like sort of like a mom. Like, you don't say substitute mom. But if you change the name to a coach, or a buddy or something else, like how just the framework, the language that we use can be, it can set up the barriers for ourselves. So there's a really wonderful example of a project in the Bay Area regarding, getting kids to do more exercise and activities, and there was some animosity between the teachers, and substitute teachers. And through that sense making process, they realized like the problem was that you were calling them substitute teachers, so just change the name. Or another one that I like is my husband recently, we were talking about this crisis and with the health system, and I kept saying, health system. He's like, we don't have a health system. That's the problem. And I was like, you're right. That is the problem, right? Like, that's why it's so fragmented. That's why people fall through the cracks, because there is no coordinated health system. We are all just floating around, right? That's the structure. And sometimes it's hard to see because it's so encompassing. And so once somebody points that out to you, you're like, right, that's the problem.
Well, Lena, I have a lot of follow-up questions, and I want to put you on the spot on those, but I also want to make sure we honor our commitments to everybody who set aside time to come to the event. I had mentioned that you would get access to speed networking about 45 minutes after the hour. We're there. So I just want to acknowledge that on send you protobot. You got it, Sandra. On the sidebar, you may have already seen that your icons began to refresh and speed networking is now open. So feel free to head over there. It will not hurt our feelings. This is recorded. There's 30 of you here. If a few of you slip away, just think about like a real conference, how people might sneak out to the lobby. So if you are here for speed networking and you want to be matched with other people randomly, you won't meet the same person twice. You can always hit refresh in the Chrome browser, or you can look to the left and see if that is open. But if you want to stick with us, we're going to actually get into the interactive exercise here. And then we're also going to have this recorded. So you're not going to miss anything if you do end up leaving the session. So I just wanted everybody to know that you won't hurt our feelings if you head over to speed networking. But let's get into, we won't do protobot tonight, but let's do micro mindfulness. And Melina, I'm going to let you lead this one as well, because I want to participate, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So. Very simple. So just if you can all look at your desk, what's in front of you, and go ahead and pick 3 items. Just take a look at 3 objects on your desk right now. Okay, and now close your eyes and think about 2 smells. What are you smelling? And lastly, think about 3 things. Try to feel your body. Feel 3 different sensations all over your body. So it could be your feet. If you're barefoot, do you feel the ground beneath you, your arms, legs? All right. How did that feel? Does anybody want to share something that they noticed?
I don't remember, they have a lag, so it's not that they don't really like the exercise, they just need 5 seconds. So,
Nadia.
But I might have cheated. Yeah, I might have cheated and done this exercise with you last night when we did our run through. And I think what was coming up for me is after we did it, I felt like some tension leave. That was just a body part that like I noticed, and it made me feel ready to observe. So I know this might feel like kind of a woo exercise, like how does this help us solve problems differently? But I would challenge you that this is not an exercise that just fits in one of those hexagons. It could fit in any of the 6, right? You could do this at any point of the design thinking process. And that's what came up for me last night when I did it, was like, when I feel that overwhelm of what I'm calling the messy middle, this is an exercise I could go to. And it literally took 3 minutes, but I would not have gone to like those 3 different areas. And in the book, doesn't she have like 5 or 6 different things she has you look around the room for?
Absolutely. There's another one where you're going through doorways, and every time you walk through a doorway, to just take a deep breath and think about that transition you're making between one space and entering another space, and try to practice that every time you walk through a doorway, and see what that energy feels like.
The one I liked as well is like, we pay attention to what we're paying attention to, but then we miss other things. And so I think she has one where you go on a walk and you look for everything yellow, but then when you get back from your walk, you really enjoyed your walk, but like you didn't see anything blue. And so it's just kind of but do we need to, right? And that's the question. Like, you were focused on the yellow. So yeah, there's so many fun exercises like this that are not that complicated. You don't need special supplies or materials. Elaine loves that doorway one. And Amanda's talking about the body scan. Yeah, today is actually Stress Awareness Day. Apparently, I found a calendar online. I think this is a hat tip to Chris. Actually, I think it was your group, GLSA, that posted that on LinkedIn. I was like, Stress Awareness Day. What was fun is when I opened it, they had a little exercise to manage stress, and they said, just laugh. Like, the physical act of laughter, like it just requires so many muscles in our body that it's a really great way to be aware of your stress and to manage it. But thanks, Melina, for leading us through this. It helped me, and I hope other folks now are like, oh, design thinking's no big deal. It's like, just close your eyes for 3 minutes. So all right. So let's apropos, she says, all right, so let's go on and just kind of bring this home for folks, because I think people are starting to get the idea that if we were really going to work on design thinking, it'd have to be over a series versus just a one and done. But I hope you've already gotten a lot out of tonight, and with the follow-up worksheets you will as well. But this is the Ask Melina portion of the evening. This is where I said I have a lot of follow-up questions for you. So naturally, Melina, are you going to be using design thinking on all of your projects moving forward?
I think I'm going to be a little bit strategic with it. So I think it's a great framework. I like a lot of aspects of it, but I also like the Sparketype that you exposed me to, which is this way of, figuring out what your strengths are, sort of like a strengths finder. And then maybe focusing my problem, solution, ideation, all of this design thinking specifically on things that will help me grow professionally and personally, et cetera. So for example, my primary Sparketype is advocate, and my secondary Sparketype is Maven. And the Maven is the researcher, the person that likes to learn and understand. And so once you know those two things, you can see like, oh, I can use the secondary piece to advance the primary, which is advocacy. And having learned that, I feel like now I know what to focus on, right? So if I were to use design thinking, it would be, how do I improve my advocacy skills? How do I communicate better so that people understand the importance of early childhood, right? And why they matter.
Jim is communicating as well, so you really brought up something for him in that. For me, my Sparketype will surprise no one. So it's essentialist, right? So it's how do we take away. So in order to do that, you have to be like appreciating all the stuff that you've gathered, but then you have to say like, and you and I think that's how we actually met, was reading the book Essentialism like 5 or 6 years ago. You're like, it makes so much sense to me. And that was your Maven coming through. Like, people like me need Mavens in their life. Like, I set traps to find them. This book is literally a Maven trap. So thank you. Because yeah, these are the type of people I like spending time with, because I'm all about like input. And Mavens are all about, I'll collect that, they'll just chase something. So then my second type obviously is performer. Should surprise no one. But then I actually have what they call an anti-type. And that is, where I get kind of in a stress state, or it doesn't come as naturally to me. And for me, it's advocacy. So it's just interesting because you and I are flipped, right? And so it's one of the reasons I enjoy spending time with you, because I feel like we're this composite of the people we spend the most time with. And I was never looking for an echo chamber at GCP Cafe. It was really complicated to try to filter through like 10,000 clinical researchers to find those like gems. One of the gems is Zulma. Sorry, Zulma, for not giving you credit for the tip off today. And then obviously you're a gem. I'm just looking in the audience, Jennifer's here as well. Just so many people that this is an entirely volunteer run organization. And I just love to apply my learning. It was nice when you first told me like, oh, design thinking's cool, but I'm not going to just implement it automatically on but that's not me, right? Like, I get a new tool and I'm like, let me apply this to all areas of my life at once. So that's why I really wanted to ask you that question, because I remember you saying like, it's good, but all things in moderation, Nadia. I said, oh, Melina, this is why we're just a dynamic pair. So I'm like hoarding the knowledge, and you're like, let's apply it strategically. So and I do for anybody that wants to, if you want to share your Sparketype with us, it's a free tool. It's not required. It has nothing to do with design thinking. It's just another framework that makes it easier to talk to people. Well, let's Yeah, we're right at an hour. I'm happy with where we're at. I think we could do takeaways. Let me pull up those slides again.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fun. This is our first time using this platform, by the way. We did 10 events last year, and they were not nearly this snazzy. I don't know if people in the audience came to our events. I see a bunch of familiar faces, so hopefully, hopefully you guys agree that this is something new and exciting we can do more of. But I guess let me let you start, Melina. Like, which of these takeaways do you want to really like people to walk away and have on their heart as they go to the session or the speed networking next?
I would say like, lose the fear and the judgment. Um, focus on what's really important to you and simplify as much as possible. Use this framework for getting rid of stuff that's unnecessary during this time that's so chaotic.
Yeah, you know, the one that it's funny because this little dude in the middle is walking up the stairs. And I believe this. Like, I think we don't just get lucky in life, right? Like, we chisel away at a problem, like with focus over time. And then you find yourself at the top of the staircase, right? Like, that's how the ladder is climbed. It's not like, oh, let me traverse this gap. It's like little tiny steps. And so, um, but what's so funny about this dude going up the staircase is there's other ways to proceed in our life and work. And so sometimes everyone in your life is pushing you up the stairs in one direction. I think design thinking gives us a chance to look for like a wormhole, like a portal that'll take us a different way, a divergent way. So I'm not saying that we should like challenge the status quo always, but I think it's nice to look around for like that divergent path. And even that path is going to require incremental steps. And so that's something that really hit home for me because it's like I can make progress even while I feel like I'm still exploring and it's so unsettling because I don't have my footing to stand on. But I can look backwards and be like, oh, there's my incremental steps. And big progress, it corresponds with opportunity, right? You achieve that by doing the work. So those are kind of the big takeaways for me. Let's see what else we had in this deck. Oh, right. So scroll down if you want to grab the book. If you did put the name of somebody who inspired you or that you admire and they exist, if they're a real person, maybe after this event, you could just go to LinkedIn and do a little post. When you go to LinkedIn, there's a little drop down and it's like, what type of post do you want to do? You can actually find like a little canned graphic that will help you do a gratitude post. Tomorrow is Thursday, so Thankful Thursday. Who inspires you? There's one woman on this call who really inspires me, and she will be showcased tomorrow. Sorry, Melina, it's not you. You do inspire me, but you're not my woman tomorrow. Tomorrow I am gonna showcase Lorraine Mercer, who actually worked behind the scenes to help me get ready for this book club, and a lot of other projects in the past 41 years of my life because she's my mom. So I'm really excited to share her with the world. But if I would love to see your post. If you could maybe just tag like design thinking, or you could tag Clindividual. It's a little hard to spell, but Clindividual, it'll get my attention. You can also mention me, but I don't want to take away from the people that you're recognizing, but I'd love to see your post and share it as part of this book club, just to continue the experience on. But let's get some gratitude going for Thursday. So, all right. So that was my big call to action: buy the book and say thank you to someone. Eating my own dog food. I would like to just say thank you to this lovely lady on stage, but also my mom, Lido, who you'll meet later if you choose to go to the networking session or continue on in the book club. Sonia in Edmonton helped with all the copywriting and research. So she's a very talented partner in my team. Jennifer Neha couldn't make it last minute, but we had a couple great stand-ins in the chat. Violet was here helping keep the conversation going. Mary Sue created the space for us to get all of these worksheets and materials out to you and help me figure out how to run the membership program. And a lot of the speaker notes and ideas came from my coworker, Amy Calvin, who so generously gave me some of her curriculum from IDEO and D School. So I'm sure there's a lot of people to acknowledge that are not on these slides, but these people made very significant contributions. And I just wanted to round of applause and say thank you for that, everybody. And thank you, Melina. Thank you, audience, for being a part of this.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to end. I mean, obviously, I went over by 5 minutes. So if you want to talk to me in the session, so there's speed networking, but I'm going to go right to the session, and I'm going to leave Melina here all alone for Q&A, because I want to make sure that I tell you about how to continue. If you want to do the 5 sessions between now and December, I'll answer questions about that program with you. Or you can just do the speed networking, or you can go get dinner. There's a number of things you can do next, but you're going to get some follow-up emails and recaps. There'll be a bunch of them. I'm going to send like 5 or 6 emails over the next week. So you'll get the replay as well. But we're doing a really special offer. So come to the session if you want to hear about it. It's a $20 discount. So it's actually kind of a good offer, I think. And I would like to tell you about that in the breakout session. You'll get this free summary worksheet that's going to give you a couple extra exercises because we definitely did not have time. You will also get to continue the conversation in the Rome event if that's something that you want to do. And I'll just do some newsletters and things. If you act in the next 72 hours, right? I don't want to let this just go till the holidays are over. We're going to kind of shut this down by Saturday, but in the next couple of days, you'll get some of those special offers. And okay, so if you decide to go speed networking, I just use this little orange circle to show you how to use the platform. Melina thought that if you're an introvert, you might need a question. So here's a question, write it down. When you meet someone and the camera turns on and you're like, hi, who are you? Where do you live? You could actually just say, hey, what was your favorite moment tonight? And by the way, I live for feedback. So if you just want to drop your favorite moment in the comments or send me a message privately, it would help me to know so that I can do a better job of developing these workshops in January and February as well. So favorite moment, love to hear it. Anything that really worked for you. So that is speed networking. And with that, maybe you can just write in the chat, or even, I think there might even be like a come on stage button. Why did this book or this book club resonate with you? What do you want for future sessions? What did you expect that you didn't get? This is your moment. So start asking questions. Melina, do I have your consent to just completely ditch you and go to the breakout session and leave you all alone?
Yeah.
she's unpaid, folks. She's unpaid. So yeah, I would just watch in the top right, Melina, you'll see the little faces. Looks like about 24 people in the room. So that's amazing. People stuck with us through the whole thing. I thought everybody would just go and ditch us. But if you see that number start to dwindle at any point, you can just say, hey, 5-minute warning, we're gonna shut this down. So it's really hard to do what Melina is doing, right? To be an unpaid volunteer and just be sitting there vulnerable. So if you could help, by giving her questions and giving her feedback, it'll make it a little bit more comfortable for her to be in the hot seat. But a big thanks to everybody. I'm gonna head over to the session. If you go there, you'll have the opportunity to turn your camera on over there. But thanks, Melina. Anything else?
I think we're good. Yeah, thank you all for contributing and being so active. I see so many comments here and just such great feedback that we got. So thank you for participating.
All right, I'm gonna blow you up full screen and I'm gonna bolt. Thank you so much.
Right. Thanks. Thank you all. Does anyone have any questions or feedback? Oh, awesome. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you for all the work you did. Thank you all. I'm seeing Amanda, this book resonated with me because it provided a somewhat organized and sequential way in establishing a pathway for reflection and next action. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chris. I like the guy climbing the stairs. That's right. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed that. The Sparketype test is amazing. It's really great. Highly recommend it. And they send you nice little short emails just just, just the right amount of information, just one email a day to get you going on how to build your strengths. And the book that Nadia talked about was also great, Essentialism. I think that's, if anyone's interested in that, Nadia is an expert. Highly recommend that one too. And then there was another follow-up after Essentialism. That's another good book too, by Greg McKeown. Oh, the favorite moment was the mini mindfulness. Thank you, Lorraine. Oh my God. It's so amazing to see. They have just great activities. Highly recommend the book to go through those to get some ideas, but you can take it and make it your own. Be a kid again. The How to Help a Leader Manage Stress and Not Push It Down is so timely. So many articles lately with the Great Resignation point out that people leave bad managers, not companies or jobs. It's tough. I don't think we get, there's no leadership training or manager training. And it's always a hard thing to learn on the job. But I think it's great to reflect and, try to build up our empathy skills. It's a hard skill set to master, and it's a learning process, right? We're never quite the leaders that we want to be. So I think we're always having to be open and listening to feedback, making sure that our employees are being heard and feel like they have a voice in the tasks that they have. Is there a particular activity in the book for those of you who may have read through some of it? Was there anything else that resonated with you guys? Pamela, I haven't read the book yet, but will soon. My favorite moment was the micro mindfulness. Thank you for hosting the workshop. Thank you, Pamela. I highly recommend the book. They've got some great exercises in there. And like Nadia mentioned, no need to read it in order, which is great. The first part of the book. Yep, Lorraine, that design is for everyone, not just Aerotech. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like democratizing design. I hope everyone feels a little bit more calm after that micro mindfulness activity, and we can continue that practice. Any thoughts on activities that you want to do? If you were to participate in another design thinking type of workshop, are there particular activities that you are excited about? Do you want to tackle a problem together? Do you want to design something fun? Do you want to think about it and let us know?
All right, I cloned myself.
Yay!
How are you doing over
Do
here?
that.
You still have
How do you
still have
do
friends?
Yeah, we've got some good feedback over here. So are we gonna be able to go through these after the call too?
Yeah,
So if you missed
absolutely.
anything? Okay.
So everybody will get access to the chat and this recording. Melina, I was thinking we might just go ahead and close out the Q&A so people can head over to speed networking. But tell me, does
Absolutely.
it feel right? Are people ready to kind of close
I
this
think
session
so,
out?
right? Yeah. You can go to speed networking.
All right,
Thank you
well,
all for
yes,
participating. Yeah, great feedback.
huge thanks for doing this alone. And I'm excited to kind of dig through these comments and find out what people want next. There's
Exactly.
like 10 people in this session. I thought everyone would go to speed networking, but everyone is in the session talking to Lido, and he's giving like a master class right now on Roam. So if anyone's interested or curious, that's being recorded. So you can just go speed network, you won't miss it, or you can just go watch Lido's thing live, which is
Yeah.
also being recorded. And I'm going to jump back in over there too. Are you going to call tonight, or are you going to go to some networking, Melina?
Can I join Lido's thing too? How
Yes,
do
you
I
can.
go?
You can.
Okay.
You
Okay. I want to see the
can
master
join Lido's
class.
thing.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop our broadcast. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for trying something new with us. This was kind of a pilot, and I'm excited to do more of these in 2022. I thought this was a lot of fun tonight.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
Thank
we'll
you.
all see you guys in the session in just a few minutes. Bye.